Welcome to Whispering Sleepless Myths. Let your eyes grow heavy, your thoughts drift into myth and sand, and your soul be guided through stories of ancient nights. Tonight, you walk beside the jackal god of Egypt, the guide of the lost and guardian of souls. This is the story of Anubis and the river of stars, ***, long before the pyramids kissed the sky. And before the Nile carried the dreams of kings, there was only silence, a deep, dark silence beneath. Cosmos died in the first whisper of creation. The gods breathed life into the world. Among them, a shadow stirred, not born in gold or sunlight, but in twilight and purpose. This was the first murmur of Anubis, the god of funerary rites, of death and rebirth. Of jackal form and sacred duty, some tales whisper he was the son of Osiris and Nephthys, a secret child born from shadowed longing. Others say he was the purest guardian, born from his divine will to protect the souls of men. But all stories agree he was there when night fell for the first time, and he was never afraid of the dark. ****, the people of Kemet, as ancient Egypt was once called, feared the jackals who roamed the desert edges. These creatures would appear at dusk, prowling near the tombs, sniffing at the threshold of the afterlife. But Anubis did not fear these wild beasts, he was them. His form merged with theirs, black-furred, sharp-eyed, and ever-watchful. Jackal became sacred, not because it ruled the desert, but because it honored death. In villages, people would whisper his name as twilight bled across the sky in view. They'd say, "He who is upon his mountain," that mountain was the sacred necropolis, the eternal gateway between the living and the dead. ***, Nephthys, sister to Isis and wife of Set, birthed Anubis in secret, hiding him away from her cruel husband. Wrapped in the twilight of her veil, she carried him to her sister Isis, who raised him in love and moonlight. As he grew, Anubis walked among both gods and mortals. But he never laughed like the others. He never danced in his daylight. Instead, he listened. He watched. He waited out, for he was not made for celebration. He was made for passage, for silence, for reverence. ****, the ancient Egyptians believed the soul, the Ka, needed safe passage beyond death. It was not enough to be buried. One's heart would be weighed in the truth of a life measured against the feather of mat. But who would prepare the soul? Who would guard it in the dangerous liminal hours between life and death? Anubis. He was the first embalmer, the first to purify the body. He washed the dead, wrapped them in linen, and marked them with sacred oil. He did not cry, he did not mourn. He served, his hands were gentle, his silence was sacred. ****, at night, as the Nile reflected the Milky Way above, what Egyptians called the river of stars, Anubis would walk with the dead. He would guide the newly departed beneath the celestial river, past the gates of fire, past the breath of Ammit the Devourer. And in those journeys, Anubis did not speak. He simply held the hand of the soul and never let go. His eyes reflected the stars. His heart calm as the Nile. And thus began the nightly ritual, Anubis and the river of stars. A journey repeated for thousands of years. A path still walked in dreams. ***, tonight. You walked in ancient footsteps across golden sands and beneath starlit waters. The jackal watched over you, and he will return. In the next episode, we'll follow Anubis into the desert necropolis, where forgotten tombs stir and memories whisper beneath the sand. Until then, sleep deeply, traveler. And remember, even in the darkest hour, a guide walks beside you. Asterisk, asterisk, in the breathless silence of the desert night. The moon rose pale above the necropolis of Saqqara. Jackals howled far off in the dunes, their cries echoing like memories of the dead. Beneath the layered tombs and forgotten stones, there was a sacred gate hidden in the earth, not made by man, but placed by the gods in a time before time. Anubis, now fully robed in his divine form, the head of the black jackal and the body clothed in linen and celestial gold, descended into this realm, the necropolis path, passageway not just beneath Egypt, but beneath existence itself, wound through the underworld, leading to every soul that ever was or would be. This was not a place of terror, but one of serenity, quiet, purpose, balance. Asterisk, Anubis's footfalls made no sound. The sand, though dry, parted like mist beneath him. His eyes, aglow with starlight, fell upon the first soul of the evening, a scribe named Het, who had served pharaohs and temples, whose papyrus scrolls bore prayers still read in shrines. Hetep's spirit trembled as Anubis approached, not from fear, but awe. The jackal god placed his hand upon the man's heart, now transparent and weightless. You who recorded truth with ink and silence, Anubis whispered, shall now be measured not by your words, but by your soul's weight. He guided Het down the path, gently toward the scales of Mat. Asterisk, asterisk, this sacred chapter of the necropolis path led to the Hall of Two Truths, a celestial chamber not bound by stone or wall, but composed of starlight and memory. Within it waited Mat, the goddess of cosmic order and harmony, and Thoth, the scribe of the gods. Anubis knelt, for even he honored Mat law. The feather of truth shimmered in Thoth's hand. He placed Hetep's heart upon one side of the scale, the feather upon the other. A hush fell across the chamber. The scales wavered, balanced, and held. Anubis nodded in approval. Your soul walks freely in the field of reeds. Asterisk, asterisk, not all souls fared so well. Further down the path, Anubis came upon a spirit fractured by regret. A thief who had died in a storm, nameless and buried without right. The soul, thin and trembling, whispered, I have no name, no family, no tomb. Anubis did not speak. He instead knelt and offered the thief a memory, the scent of lotus, the warmth of firelight, the sound of a mother's lullaby. Even the forgotten were weighed, and though the scales tipped, Anubis did not judge. That was not his role. He only guided, delivered, witnessed. Asterisk, asterisk, deeper still along the necropolis path. The silence was broken by movements in the shadows. Ammit, the Devourer, part lion, crocodile, and hippo, watched from a void beyond the scales, licking her chops with anticipation. Anubis walked past her without fear, but for the souls whose hearts failed the test. Ammit waited not as a punishment, but as a final release. No torment, only erasure. The end of memory. The idea chilled the air, yet Anubis's calm presence steadied the path. Each choice, each moment of a life led here, to balance, to silence, to truth. Asterisk, asterisk, in the deepest chamber of the necropolis path lay the tomb of the moon, a sacred shrine veiled in night mist, carved not into rock, but into dream. Here Anubis paused. He lit a small flame, a funerary lamp, and placed it beside a new sarcophagus. A queen had died that evening, a great one, unnamed here, for her name was being recited in the world above. Duat, as he closed the tomb, he whispered, "May your name never fade, may your deeds be sung, may your soul sail the stars." And with that, he turned back along the path. Asterisk, asterisk, Anubis emerged beneath the shadow of the Great Pyramid. The Milky Way glowed in a great arc above. The stars shimmered like ancient souls, and the Nile whispered its lullabies nearby. He knelt and pressed his hand to the earth. "I have walked the necropolis path. The hearts are weighed. The scales are balanced. The night endures," and then he vanished into the wind, leaving only the scent of frankincense, myrrh, and starlight. Asterisk, asterisk, sleep now, gentle soul. Let your dreams follow the stars and your heart remain light. You walk the necropolis path only in peace under Anubis's watchful gaze. Return tomorrow, where deeper tales await beneath moonlit sands and celestial silence. Anubis stood at the threshold of the grand hall of the truths, its obsidian columns carved with stars that mirror the night sky above. This was no temple of stone. This was a realm between life and afterlife, where time whispered rather than marched. The jackal-headed god's golden eyes swept across the silent chamber. Before him stretched the scales of Ammit, delicately balanced upon a base etched with hieroglyphs of justice and harmony. To one side stood the feather of Ammit, pure and white, a symbol of truth and cosmic balance. To the other, the hearts, the dead carried in small urns by silent boss spirits. As the stars wheeled slowly in the sky dome above, a soft glow bathed the room, not from flame, but from the memory of lives now past. Asterisk, asterisk, each soul entered alone. They came from the river of stars, gliding in silence, cloaked in stardust and memory. Some wept, some stood tall. All were greeted by Anubis, whose voice was no louder than wind brushing desert sand. He would gently extend his hand and ask the question every soul knew was coming. Did you walk in Ammit, the path of truth? There were no lies in this place, not because lying was forbidden, but because truth shimmered around each soul like a shadow. Every deed, every regret, Every kindness floated around them in translucent echoes. Anubis did not judge, he only revealed. Asterisk, asterisk, one soul approached, an old woman wrapped in the linens of a merchant's widow. She trembled not from fear, but from humility. Anubis took her heart gently from her chest. A symbolic act, painless as a breeze, he placed it upon one side of the golden scale. On the other side, the feather of man waited. The scales teetered, paused, then settled. Balanced. A quiet sigh passed through the chamber, not from Anubis, but from the river of stars which welcomed her essence into the field of reeds. He did not speak as she passed beyond, only nodded once, a quiet blessing. Farewell between ETER and ITIES. Asterisk, asterisk, not all hearts were light. A soldier came next, tall, proud, armored even in death. His heart, when lifted by Anubis, beat visibly with restless memories. He had known duty, but also cruelty. The scale tilted, the heart outweighed the feather. From the shadows a low growl stirred. Amid the Devourer emerged, her lion's mane bristled, her crocodile jaws open wide, and her hippopotamus haunches stepped forward. She devoured the heart in a single snap. The soul vanished. No punishment, no screaming, just nothing. Asterisk, asterisk, day after day, in Duat's eternal twilight, Anubis weighed the hearts. He did not tire, he did not fear. This was his role, ancient as breath, sacred as silence. Behind him stood Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe, recording each outcome in scrolls made of woven starlight. And far above, the stars spun in their celestial patterns, the same constellations that mortals looked upon each night, unaware that beneath them their fates were quietly decided. Asterisk, asterisk, sometimes a soul would plead not for mercy but for understanding. Anubis would listen. He did not need to speak. He would simply tilt his head and the soul would suddenly see. Every action, every consequence, tears would fall or smiles would bloom. Understanding was its own form of peace. Asterisk, asterisk, one soul, small and fragile, approached. A child who had known only a few summers. The heart, so light it nearly floated, rested against the feather and did not disturb it. Anubis did not send her to the field of reeds. Instead, he reached out and placed her soul among the stars. A new constellation bloomed that night. Even gods have tender moments. Asterisk, asterisk, then came a king, mighty in life, adorned in spectral gold. He smiled as he approached the scale, certain of his favor, but his heart was heavy, not with evil, but with arrogance. The scale tipped, just slightly, enough, Anubis bowed his head. He did not argue. The king's soul faded, not to be devoured, but to wander. Lesson UNLERNED. Justice here was not cruel, only honest. Asterisk, asterisk, one night, Anubis touched the feather of Mod, not to test it, but to remember. The feather held not only truth, but memory. It remembered every soul that passed, every light-hearted farewell. Every tear it did not weigh just actions, but intent. It was fair, because it was ancient. Asterisk, asterisk, when all was silent, when no souls came, Anubis remained. He polished the scales. He lit candles made from the wax of ancient bees. He whispered to the river of stars and listened to the echoes of lives once lived. He did not seek worship. He did not crave praise. He existed because truth needed a guardian, and in this soft, sacred silence, Anubis stood eternal, watching over the hearts of the dead as they journeyed through the night. Asterisk, asterisk, you have stood in the weighing chamber, where hearts are measured and truth is found. May your dreams be light, and your conscience lighter still. Sleep well, and remember, even in darkness, the stars watch gently. Asterisk, asterisk, there is a river that does not shimmer with the golden hues of sunlight. It is not known to the living. It wends through the darkness of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld, where stars bloom like lilies above its black waters. This river has many names, Worms, the celestial waterway. River of stars, it is sometimes whispered Duat, but among the dead, it is simply the path each night. Anubis walks its bank in silence, and when the hour is right, when the scales have been read, when the hearts of the newly dead are weighed, he raises his hand, and the midnight boat comes. Asterisk, asterisk, this is no ordinary vessel. The midnight boat is carved from wood that never rots, taken from the sacred Persea tree. Its sides inlaid with lapis lazuli and polished obsidian. Its sails are black and silver. Catching winds only the dead can feel. Duat in the center of the boat, a throne not for a king, but for a soul deemed worthy, and at the front, Anubis stands, the jackal-headed guide, silent as eternity died by ancient right. The newly judged are ferried across the river, guided through 12 regions of night. Their journey is not yet done, for even the innocent must pass through fire, shadow, and time to reach the field of reeds. Asterisk, asterisk, the winds that stir the boat whisper names, forgotten names. Prayers left unsaid, griefs unspoken, Anubis hears them all. His ears twitch not at the thunder of war, but at the quiet ache of a mother's tears. The gasp of a dying soldier, the whimper of a child lost to fever. Each name becomes a breeze that pushes the boat forward. These are the winds of remembrance. Is Anubis who honors them. Asterisk, asterisk, the midnight boat reaches the first gate. It is wreathed in blue fire, eternal and hungry. Only those whose hearts were lighter than Madeh's feather can pass through unburned. The gatekeeper, a being of smoke with 7 serpent heads, asks no questions. Anubis simply nods and the gate opens. The soul on board sees visions of past mistakes turned to ash, regrets lifting like incense into the stars. This is the first test, a purification, a surrender. Asterisk, asterisk, the river narrows. Here, ancient beings drift beneath the water, half fish, half men, with crocodile jaws and eyes made of moonlight. They guard the river's secrets and test the soul's courage. The soul must not flinch, for the journey is not merely passage, it is transformation. Anubis watches. If fear overtakes the soul, he gently touches their shoulder and all is calm again. His hand is cool, like starlight, like stone, like truth. Asterisk, asterisk, the boat docks at a small island where nothing grows and even the stars above go dim. This is the house of silence. Every soul must step off the boat, if only for a breath, and sit with nothing but themselves. There is no sound here, no memory, only stillness. Those who carried rage feel it dissolve. Those who clung to power feel its weight fall away. It is here the soul is emptied, made ready. Anubis waits, always waits, until the soul is light enough to rise again. Asterisk, asterisk, as dawn approaches in the world of the living. midnight boat nears its end dot. Beyond the final bend in the river lies the field of reeds, paradise of golden light, of singing birds and endless harvest. The ancient Egyptians called it Aru, but before the boat docks, Anubis whispers the soul's name, the true name, the one they carried since before birth, the one that was never spoken aloud. It echoes in the heart of the soul, and they remember who they are. The boat slows, the sails fall silent, the journey ends. Asterisk, asterisk, Anubis never enters the field of reeds. It is not his place. He is the walker of thresholds, the guardian of doors, the keeper of paths. He watches the soul step ashore, free, whole, shining dot, and then he turns back to the river, back to the next soul, back into the quiet night. For Anubis never sleeps, and the midnight boat must always sail. Asterisk, asterisk. In the heart of the Duat, veiled by endless night, there exists a chamber few ever see, even in death. The chamber of hearts. Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming, stood alone beneath its stone archways. Unlike the weighing chamber where justice was rendered, this place was for safekeeping. Each soul that had passed the test of Mat left behind a single, glowing relic, the spiritual imprint of the heart, not the physical organ now wrapped and resting in linen, but a radiant vessel of memory, emotion, and essence. These hearts shimmered like crimson stars, floating within obsidian jars carved with ancient glyphs. Anubis walked the chamber in silence, his claws gently tracing the air as he communed with the memories within each vessel. He was not simply the embalmer, he was the keeper of hearts. Asterisk, asterisk, tonight, a new heart joined the collection. Anubis held the glowing essence of a recently judged soul, a humble scribe named Kedit, whose soul had weighed in perfect balance. As the jar accepted the heart's essence, a hush filled the chamber, and then a whisper, faint, faded, but unmistakable, like the lantern for the blind. Anubis paused. He turned toward the center of the chamber, where the oldest jars, some from the dawn of time, shimmered faintly, like nearly forgotten dreams. He pressed his hand to one vessel. A ripple of memory coursed through him, the life of a young girl from the first dynasty who had spoken her final prayer to a star. He moved to another, a soldier who had died in defense of his family, long before pharaohs had carved their names into history. Each whisper was faint, but growing louder. Together they formed a message. Something was changing in the river of stars. Asterisk, asterisk, Anubis left the chamber of hearts and returned to the hall of two truths. The feather of Mat, which had for eternity remained steady and unmoved, was now flickering. Faintly, a tremor, almost imperceptible, but for a god of death, It was enough to send a ripple through the eternal. What disturbs the balance? He murmured Duat, he summoned Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom died in a flash of moonlight. Thoth appeared, his scrolls glowing. Have you sensed it too? Anubis asked. Thoth nodded. A soul lingers in the duet, untouched by judgment, neither guided nor weighed. A forgotten soul. Thoth's eyes darken. No, a hidden one. Asterisk, guided by the whispers of the hearts, Anubis descended into a forgotten corridor beneath the Duat, a place untouched since the age of the gods' war. Darkness clung to the walls like wet linen. The air was heavy with ancient dust and the scent. Forgotten prayers. Torches flickered to life at his passing, casting long shadows there. At the very end was a figure wrapped in linen, unmoving, unweighed, unmarked. Anubis stepped closer and felt a shiver run through his divine essence. This was not just any soul. This was a soul that remembered. A mortal who had somehow escaped the judgment and taken knowledge from the living realm that should not have entered death. Asterisk, the soul slowly turned its head. Its face was wrapped in funerary cloth, but its voice was clear. You remember me? Anubis narrowed his golden eyes. You're not meant to be here, but I am, the soul replied. I chose to wait, not for judgment, not for paradise. I waited for her. The god's silence spoke volumes. Few defied death willingly. Fewer still did so for love. Her heart is here, the soul said. Among your jars, I wish to see it, just once. Anubis turned toward the memory chamber. Asterisk, Anubis returned alone to the chamber of hearts. He found the jar, aged, cracked, but still glowing with an ember of longing. He placed it beside the soul, still wrapped in silence, and in that moment, something remarkable occurred. Both vessels pulsed once, then a light flowed between them. Not bright, not blinding, but warm, like the light of early morning in the desert. Anubis watched. UNBLINKING. This was not against the laws of Mat. This was Mat, the balance between memory and mercy. Asterisk, from the heart light. Two stars formed in the river above Duat, twin lights. Moving together across the Duat sky, the other souls whispered in awe. Even the jars glowed with renewed warmth. Anubis turned back toward the hall of judgment and whispered, let it be written. Love may weigh even against time. Asterisk, beneath the ever-shifting sands of the desert, Anubis sensed something ancient even by his own reckoning. There were places buried so deep they whispered only to gods. On this starlit night, as the cool breeze swept across the black sands of the west, he felt a call from the forgotten. Anubis knelt and pressed his hand into the sand, where no tombs had ever been charted, not far from the edge of the necropolis. This was a realm untouched by mortals for thousands of years. The stars shimmered above, but what caught his attention were the stars beneath. Sparkling fragments of forgotten time just waiting to be uncovered. He began to dig not with urgency, but with reverence. With each handful of sand, a tale began to reveal itself. Asterisk, beneath the dunes. Anubis discovered a buried chamber round, in shape and carved entirely of black basalt. The walls were etched with constellations, their silver inlay glinting faintly even in the absence of light. He had found the celestial archive, an ancient tomb not of bodies but of stories. These were not tales meant for mortal ears, but recordings of divine events. Here, the ancestors of gods had left behind secrets how the world had once been balanced, and how the stars themselves once sang over Ammit. Anubis wandered its curved halls, letting his fingers glide over the carvings. One caught his attention, an image of a solar bark, pierced by a shadow beneath it. Prophecy was inscribed in stars, the balance will one day teeter not by evil, but by silence. What could it mean? Asterisk, asterisk, the archive had many locked doors, and Anubis, though a guardian of death, respected the boundaries of knowledge. But one door bore the feather of Ammit, and above it the eye of thought, the god of wisdom died inside. He discovered a mirrored chamber, its walls reflecting infinite versions of himself. A stone pedestal stood at the center, holding a scroll sealed, with wax and bound in golden thread. When he unrolled it, he found not words, but star maps written in a forgotten tongue. They were coordinates, directions to the buried star, a celestial gate that only Anubis could open. Portals said to connect the underworld with the Duat sky, the place where mortal souls became stars. Asterisk, asterisk, leaving the archive, Anubis traveled beyond the visible banks of the Nile, to the hidden tributary known only in myth, the river beneath the river. Few gods had seen it, fewer had crossed it. Its waters shimmered black and gold, and the reflection upon it was not the sky but the soul. Each ripple showed images of forgotten kings, lost wanderers, and prayers long buried under time. Anubis boarded a small vessel, made of pure obsidian. With one gentle push, he set forth on the night river, seeking the coordinates revealed to him by thought's scroll. He whispered an ancient chant as he rowed, let the soul sail, past time's flame, through stars that whisper the silent name. Asterisk, asterisk, at the end of the river, Anubis came to a massive gate of stone, shaped like a reclining jackal. Its eyes were closed. This was the gate of the star guardian. He pressed the scroll to its surface, and the stone eyelids opened, revealing burning sapphire flames. From within the gate stepped a tall, luminous being, Septet, the star guardian, spirit of the Sirius star. Her hair flowed like night water, and her voice was a melodic echo. You've remembered the forgotten path, Anubis. Few dare open the stars beneath the sand. She showed him a vision, stars falling from the heavens, swallowed by dark dunes. Mortals forget their place among the cosmos, she said. Even gods forget the stories once kept in silence. Asterisk, asterisk, Septet led Anubis into a chamber beneath the gate, where ancient star metal dust floated weightless. She explained it was the very material used to craft divine forms. From this dust, gods were shaped and stars were born. In a bowl of this dust, Anubis saw images of himself as a child of Nephthys and Osiris, abandoned to the desert. Raised among shadows, he watched as his fate was written not in blood but in constellations. You are not the god of death, Septet whispered. You are the keeper of cosmic order, the guide of light through shadow. The dust swirled, forming a jackal constellation above his head. Asterisk, asterisk, with new understanding, Anubis returned to the surface world. The sun had not yet risen, but the stars now seemed brighter. He walked among the tombs of the necropolis not as a watcher, but as a conductor of celestial harmony. He looked up, and for the first time, saw the sky not as a dome, but as a map. Each soul he had ever guided now formed part of that map. The stars were not just distant lights, they were memories. Asterisk, asterisk at the edge of the desert. He made a vow. He would not let these stars beneath the sand be forgotten. He would whisper their names in the ears of every soul who crossed into the Duat. With every soul weighed, with every journey guided, he would remember the archive, the star guardian, the celestial dust. We are not buried, he whispered. We rise like stars again and again. For the first time in millennia, he hesitated. The soul continued, if we cannot meet in life, or in the fields of reeds, then let our hearts touch in the chamber of stars. Asterisk, asterisk. In the deep folds of the Egyptian desert, a hush often falls at dusk, but tonight there is a gentle stirring. The festival of lanterns and shadows has begun each year. When the river of stars glides closest to the realm of mortals, the priests and guardians of the necropolis prepare a sacred celebration, a time not of mourning, but of remembrance, not of fear, but of connection between the living and the departed. Anubis watches from the shadows, his jackal head silhouetted by the crescent moon. His eyes shimmer not with judgment, but with something softer, almost human. He walks slowly through the sand-draped streets of the silent city, with living leaf offerings and the dead whisper thanks. Tonight is not for judgment. Tonight is for communion. Asterisk, asterisk, the temple acolytes move with reverence, whispering ancient names as they light palm oil lanterns. Each flame holds a memory, a soul, a wish, a sorrow not yet settled. Some are for lost mothers, others for unborn children, and some are for those whose names have been forgotten by time. Anubis walks among them unseen, gently lifting each lantern. With a whisper of wind sending it skyward, a priestess kneels, murmuring, guide them gently. Jackal Lord, show them the river. And Anubis, moved by her voice, bows his head. Asterisk, asterisk, beyond the city, a narrow river glistens like black glass. On this night only, the river of stars appears on earth, mirroring the heavens. Its surface reflects the constellations perfectly. boats glide slowly across the mirrored waters, each carrying lanterns, fruit offerings, or letters etched into reed. Parchment-dot families line the shore in silence, watching their dreams drift into the night. Some believe the dead come back to join them. Others know that Anubis is there walking the boat paths, watching, guiding, protecting. He is the unspoken prayer in every breath. Asterisk, asterisk, a soft humming breaks the silence. A woman in white, known as the papyrus singer, walks barefoot down the steps of the temple of Osiris. She is not seen, only heard. Her voice is low and ancient, a lullaby older than any scroll. Come, child of dust, come, star of my bone, drift with the river, drift safely home. They say her voice wakes the memory in every soul. Even Anubis stops to listen. A single tear not of sadness, but of divine stillness slides from the corner of his eye. Asterisk, asterisk, tonight. Anubis has a special duty. 3 souls hover on the edge of the veil, confused, half-formed, afraid. Their children taken too soon, not yet guided. He kneels before them, not as a god, but as a guardian. His deep voice is barely above the wind. You are safe now. The river remembers you. He lifts them, one by one, placing them in a boat of silver reeds. They smile, no longer afraid, and drift away beneath the sky full of ancestors. Asterisk, asterisk, as the night deepens. Shadows begin to dance around the temple fires. These are not spirits, these are the living, cloaked in black silk, performing the dance of passing. Their feet never touch the earth. They twirl and bend, each movement a story, a birth, a life, a death, a return. The youngest dancer wears the mask of Anubis. The oldest wears a veil of stars. Anubis watches from behind the veil, his heart stirring with something close to longing. For even gods remember. Asterisk, asterisk, in a quiet courtyard, a boy kneels with a lantern and speaks aloud. I never met you. I don't know your name, but I hope you are not lonely. He places the lantern on the stone, and Anubis watches it flicker to life. The god kneels behind him, unseen, and places his hand gently on the boy's shoulder. For no offering is ever wasted, no voice unheard. Asterisk, asterisk, as dawn approaches, the last lanterns are sent into the river. Anubis walks the path along the shore, each flame reflecting in his golden eyes. His figure begins to fade. First the jackal ears, then the long shadow robe, then the staff he carries with reverence. Finally, only his eyes remain. 2 golden stars in the mist, and then nothing. But the people know he was their Dot, as he always is. Asterisk, asterisk, the festival ends not with a sound, but a feeling, like warmth on your skin just before morning. The children dream without nightmares. The elders sleep without regrets, and somewhere in the underworld, souls smile in the darkness. Anubis has walked among them, and the river of stars flows once more. Asterisk, asterisk, you are safe now. Let go of your worries. Tonight, you have wandered the sacred sands. You have lit a lantern for memory, for love, for peace, and Anubis has heard you. Sleep now, gentle dreamer. The lanterns will guard your dreams, and the jackal lord watches from the stars. Asterisk, asterisk, in the ancient days of Kemet, before the sun rose for the first time, there existed 2 tools of rule, the crook and the flail. The crook, or heka, curved like a shepherd's staff, symbolized kingship and the guardian's duty to guide and protect. The flail, or nikaka, the misunderstood was not a weapon but a symbol of fertility, abundance, and the ruler's right to discipline when necessary. Together, they were not merely regalia, they were balance. The god Osiris bore them upon his crossed arms in the eternal embrace of death, resting on his chest as he reigned over the Duat. But before Osiris, before Isis crowned her beloved, it was Anubis, guardian of transition, who first held them beneath the stars. Asterisk, asterisk, as the moon carved its silver arc across the sky, Anubis wandered the hall of divine instruments. Each artifact sung its silent name in the voice of the cosmos. Here, he found the crook carved from cedar, curved with grace, wrapped in thin bands of lapis. And the flail, bound from golden threads of wheat and linen, like the lashes of the harvest god. Risen who crafted them was a forgotten soul named Meritka, a mortal blessed by Ta, who dreamed of forms hidden in starlight. She wept as she handed them over. May these guide both king and soul, she whispered, to lead and to learn. Anubis, silent and moved, accepted the gifts from that night onward. They were not tools of dominion, but of guidance. Asterisk, asterisk, through the ages, Anubis appeared in the dreams of pharaohs. In each vision, the crook and flail shimmered behind him, forming a radiant halo of justice and order. To Narmer, first unifier, Anubis whispered of duty before conquest. To Hatshepsut, the queen king, he spoke of legacy and the loneliness of power. To Tutankhamun, the boy pharaoh, he brought comfort and the vision of an afterlife lush with lotus and laughter. The symbols became part of royal iconography, carved into tomb walls, sealed in golden sarcophagi, remembered for eternity, but few knew their origin. That the first to carry them was not a king, but a guide. Asterisk, asterisk, one moonless night when the Duat trembled with imbalance, the gods called Anubis to judgment. You are not king, Ra said. Why do you bear the signs of sovereignty? Anubis bowed. I am not king, he replied, but I walk where kings fear to tread. Isis stepped forward, veiled in night, and placed her hand upon her son's shoulder. He rules no throne, but he rules the passage, she said. And thus it was decreed. The crook and flail were not only for kings of earth, but for the guardian of souls, the keeper of equilibrium. Asterisk, asterisk, there exists a hidden temple beneath the sand dunes west of Abydos, the temple of balance. Here, the crook and flail are still worshipped in shadowed chambers by priests of silence. Each equinox, the high priest invokes the name of Anubis and walks the halls with a golden staff and a linen flail, tracing the journey of the soul from cradle to tomb. And deep beneath that temple lies a statue of Anubis, serene and watchful, his arms crossed in the ancient pose, bearing the sacred tools not as a ruler, but as a servant of the journey. Asterisk, asterisk, as you drift into sleep, hear the final whisper of this tale. The crook teaches compassion, to guide without domination. The flail teaches discipline, to correct with care. In your life's walk, you to carry invisible symbols of balance. Your decisions are your flail, your empathy, your crook. Anubis watches still from the shadows of your thoughts, from the moments between decisions, from the silence after a choice is made. When you feel lost, let the shepherd of stars guide you. chamber was vast and silent, its columns carved from obsidian and etched with starlight reached upward into a sky of onyx. Breeze, faint as a whisper from beyond the grave, moved through the space, the scent of myrrh, lotus, and time-worn. Parchment lingered. Dot in the center stood the golden scales of Mad. Dot to the left, a soul fragile, translucent, hopeful. Dot to the right, Anubis's jackal head unmoving, his eyes pools of darkness with stars flickering within. He did not speak. Instead, he gestured slowly, reverently, for the soul to place its heart on one side of the scale. From behind a pillar, slinking like shadow given form, came Ammit. ***, she was terrible and majestic. Ammit, the demoness of judgment, was unlike any creature known to the waking world. Her body was a chimera of divine predators, the head of a crocodile, the torso of a lioness, and the hindquarters of a hippopotamus. Her eyes glinted not with cruelty, but with inevitable purpose. She was not evil. She was not malicious. She was just as Dot as the heart was placed upon the scale, and the feather of Mad balanced opposite. Ammit crouched at the base. Her breath was hot and dry. Her teeth, rows of bones sharpened by time, waited for the heart to heavy with sin. ***, the feather of Mad was no ordinary plume. Dot. It was the essence of truth, order, and harmony, the law by which the cosmos was held. Dot. As the scales tilted trembling, the soul began to weep. Memories drifted from it like smoke, betrayals, greed, bitterness, but then came compassion, sorrow, repentance. Anubis observed. His silence was not indifference, it was the solemnity of one who has stood in this place 1,000 times and still carries each soul's weight. The feather pulsed with soft light, and slowly the scales returned to balance. Ammit growled, but stepped back. The soul had passed. ***, not all souls fared so well. Dot. In a chamber farther from the central hall, the walls were scorched with regret. Here, the heart placed on the scale was swollen with vengeance, twisted by deceit. The feather hardly moved, and when the balance tipped, Ammit lunged. There was no violence, only an end. Dot. The soul vanished into her jaws, not torn but unmade, a return to chaos, a dissolution into the void. Anubis, though unmoved, whispered an ancient prayer, not for the soul but for those who yet lived, that they might choose a lighter path. Thoth, the ibis-headed scribe of the gods, stood nearby, with a scroll made of moonlight and a reed pen dipped in the river of memory. He recorded the outcome of each trial. Anubis never looked at him, but he knew the scribe saw all. Beside him, the goddess Mot, in her eternal feathered headdress, drifted with dignity. Her presence calmed the chaos. She did not judge. She was the balance itself. Some souls, even after passing the trial, hesitated. Am I worthy? They whispered. Anubis did not answer. He only held out his hand and led them onward toward the stars. Field of reeds and the embrace of Osiris. Others, humbled by the weight of their own regrets, bowed deeply before Mad and asked to serve her in the afterlife, to restore the harmony they had once broken. Even death, in the eyes of the gods, could be redeemed. Sometimes a soul would appear with no one to mourn them, no offerings, no name written on scrolls, forgotten by time. And yet, if their heart was light, they passed. And sometimes Those hailed as great in life had hearts darkened by secret sins, and they were devoured. Anubis did not weep, for his duty was not to feel, but to balance. But in the deepest chambers, when he was alone, he sometimes lingered near the scales, remembering faces, names lost in sand and stars. Asterisk, asterisk, there was one soul, a young boy, once a temple scribe who had offered Anubis a simple clay figurine, as thanks for saving his father in a dream. Centuries later, that same boy's soul appeared in the chamber, his heart pure, the figurine still clutched in his essence. Anubis tilted his head just slightly, a gesture of recognition that the soul smiled, bowed, and passed into paradise. Asterisk, asterisk, night after night. Judgment continued. The scales were never empty for long. Some feared the chamber, others approached with courage, but all stood equal, and Anubis, the jackal god, the silent shepherd of souls, remained, not just to weigh the heart, but to witness it die, to see who we truly were, beneath the lies, the masks, the pain. Asterisk, asterisk, as night deepens, the river of stars appears, a shimmering pathway between worlds, winding through the sky like liquid light. Anubis stands at its edge, his jackal form silhouetted against the constellation of Sirius, the brightest star. With a steady breath, he steps into a boat carved from ebony and stardust, the vessel meant to carry souls on their final journey. Soft whispers echo around him, prayers from the living, hopes of the departed, the quiet hum of eternity. Asterisk, asterisk, in the river's waters float countless souls, glowing softly, memories of lives once lived. Some shimmer like stars, others flicker like candles in the dark. Anubis guides them gently, his hand steady on the oars, his eyes full of calm compassion. He whispers ancient words, a lullaby to soothe the soul's restlessness, to ease their passage beyond the veil. Asterisk, asterisk, along the banks, ethereal beings watch, guardians of the afterlife, protectors of cosmic order. They nod to Anubis as he passes, offering silent respect. Among them, the star goddess Septet shines brightest, her light weaving through the dark, a beacon for lost travelers dot together. They guide the river's flow, ensuring no soul strays into the void. As the boat glides, Anubis sees reflections on the water, faces of those who remember, who mourn, who love. He understands the bridge he tends is not just for the dead, but for those still bound by life. The river of stars is a thread connecting all, a reminder that memory and love transcend even death. Asterisk, asterisk, at journey's end lies the field of reeds, a realm of peace, abundance, and rest. Anubis helps each soul to step onto the shore, where Osiris awaits with open arms. Here, the burdens are shed, and eternal calm embraces every traveler. The jackal god watches until the last star fades into dawn, then turns back to the river, ready for the next night's passage. Asterisk, asterisk, sleep now, gentle dreamer. Your journey is safe under Anubis's watch. The river of stars flows ever onward, carrying us all home. Good night.